Hi, everyone. This is Dorie Clark, and we're here for our weekly interview show for Newsweek, Better. And our guest this week is Professor Christian Stadler. Christian is the author of the book Open Strategy, and we're going to be talking about how to innovate in business today and also how we should be thinking about strategy in today's world, in our lives and in our careers. Christian, it's great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Dorie. It's a great pleasure.
Wonderful. And for those of you who are tuning in from around the world, I'm in Miami and Christian's in Nairobi. We're excited to see where you are. So please feel free to type into the chat box and let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you and also take your questions for Christian as we proceed. So Christian, let's kick off with a really basic question. You wrote a book called Open Strategy. What does that mean? What are we referring to? And is most strategy closed, or what's different about your approach to strategy?
So yes, most is closed. And when I say closed, what I mean is that it's a small group of people, usually the same people time after time. And in many large organizations still, diversity is lacking in these groups as well, where we have a disproportionate amount of older white men in these groups, who make decisions. And that's creating limitations. You can imagine, that they will miss a few things here or there. And the core idea about openness is that you involve people who are not usually in these processes and, potentially fairly large groups.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think such a good point, Christian. It's true. When we think of strategy, so often we think of a kind of small cabal of people that are doing it or somehow entitled to do it. And it becomes a kind of elite phenomenon. So I want to say hi to some of the wonderful friends who are joining us for our weekly session here for Newsweek, the Better Show. Cheryl is here from Minneapolis, St. Paul. Claudia is here from Peru. Narinder is here from the UK. Karen from Boston. Bill from North Carolina. We're saying hi to Anastasia from Denver, and Jennifer is joining us. We have a LinkedIn friend from Saudi Arabia. Benin is here from North Carolina. Erica from Texas. Elen from New York City. Our friend Bernhardt from Munich. We have Hetty from Philadelphia. Sarah at Deloitte University, which is where I'm going in about 5 minutes after this, and many more. We're happy to see all of you. Let us know who you are and where you're dialing in from. We're talking with Professor Christian Stadler about his new book, Open Strategy. Type your questions into the chat box. And Christian, your book, the subtitle of it is Mastering Disruption from Outside the C-Suite. So obviously disruption has become a topic that a lot of people are concerned about in today's business world. Everybody's a little bit afraid of being either swamped by the competition or just it's sort of overturned by the tsunami of unpredictable events like the pandemic. How can we get better at outsmarting disruption, or at least dealing with it?
I like it how you brought better into the question, a title of the show right there.
We're going meta. That's right.
We're going better. Absolutely. So, it's sort of bizarre that while we're all afraid of disruption, it makes it difficult still to act on it. There's all these sort of, old routines. We do things how we've always done them, both on a personal level and also in organizations. And in organizations, it's kind of more difficult even because it's not just me, there's 10, 20, 30, 50 other people as well who all would need to change their approach if we want to get ready for this disruption. So how do we do this? Yeah. And my idea here is, people, when they get an involvement, an ability to think through those things, then they'll be more likely to not resist against new ideas, including ideas that disrupt their own world, their own way of working.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting in terms of finding ways to be able to help people buy into the process and be much more involved in it. If you're enjoying this conversation with Christian Stadler about his new book, Open Strategy, please hit the like button and the share button so that your friends can benefit from the conversation as well. We want to say hi to the great folks tuning in. If you're just joining us, type into the chat box. Let us know who you are. We've got Kolawole from Nigeria. We have James joining us from Dallas. We have Mabratu from Ethiopia, Dennis from Colorado. We have a LinkedIn friend from Oman and one from Pittsburgh. Ellen is from Norway. We have Andrew from England. We have a LinkedIn friend from Long Island. We have Ananda from Bangalore. We have Diana from South Carolina, Cristo from Spain. We have Linda. We have Dwarakanath from Bangalore and many more. We love having all of you. Thanks for tuning in. We're here with Professor Christian Stadler. Now, Christian, who do you feel like...
also, Dorie, sorry to interrupt. I've seen Simon there, old friend of mine, Great to see you, Simon.
Oh, that's great. I know it is every Thursday at 9 Pacific, noon Central, 6 p.m. CET. It's like a family reunion. Join us every Thursday. Now, Christian, who's doing this right? I imagine that probably, I'm making an educated guess here, most companies, most people who are doing strategy are possibly doing it the old way. They are maybe doing it the closed way. Who should we be looking to as our role models? Who's the cutting edge here?
Well, it's hard to put, your finger on the cutting edge. I tend to think about it in terms of, initiatives that are done, and they can either be done in a more open or a closed way. And that you then find, organizations, maybe not all of those things happen in a open way, but some of them do, yeah? So I can give you maybe a few examples of really nice, occasions where this happened. One of my favorite stories is from Barclays. In 2012, the retail business in the UK, they were starting to think ahead and sort of start to think when the digital world comes about, how we do things. And you could have done it the way you've always done it, where a small group of executives, maybe a consulting company, start to think through. But Ashok Vaswani, who was the new head of Retail UK at the time, decided that he wants to involve a much larger group of people. He had sort of, two stages in this process. First one where he already set up working groups, some of them representing young people who recently joined. The idea here is when you are more recent, you're not sort of tainted by the old ways of doing things. Some of them representing different functions. And they came up with broad trajectories of what the future might look like. The second stage is the one that is really interesting. They set up this online strategy jam. Think of it a little bit like an online conference where you have different discussion groups, where you have moderators that help you along. And they involved all 30,000 people in Barclays Retail in the UK. 30,000 is amazing there. And doing this, creating a sort of energy around the strategy topic that they never seen before. Things got real in a way in these conversations. One thing they shared with me is that the mortgage department, one of the people there brought up this parallel to Domino's Pizza. I'm not sure in the States. Do you have Domino's Pizzas in the States?
We absolutely have Domino's Pizza in the States.
Have. Okay,
yes.
Okay. So Domino's Pizza ahead of the curve here. You order a pizza, they know and let you know pizza is ordered. They can also tell you when they put the ingredients on the pizza. They can tell you when the pizza goes into the oven, and they can tell you when it comes out and when it's on the way to you. In the mortgage department, as they realized, all they can do is they can tell you, I received your mortgage application. And at the very end, they either tell you no mortgage or mortgage under these conditions. That's it, It's just no longer in sync with how the world works. And by being involved in all of this, people were sort of seeing how it affects them in an organization that is over 300 years old, where you have all those branches and people are naturally afraid, that digitalization is going to kill their jobs. Having them being part of that process, becoming champions of that process makes a massive difference. They after this jam, shortly after that, they introduced a first mobile app, and they quickly went up to 1 million users. Today, it has 9 million users. It's one of the most successful fintech products in the United Kingdom. That's not that's not small cheese for this old legacy organization to make this massive transition into the digital era. And, Ashok Vaswani is quite explicit that it's not just about what to do, but it's really that everyone has an opportunity to think along that really makes this happen.
Yeah, that's a great point. We're here with Professor Christian Stadler. He's the author of a new book. It's called Open Strategy, and you can learn more about him at his website. Go to christianstadler.org. If you're enjoying this conversation and you want to make sure you never miss one, we take place every Thursday here on behalf of Newsweek. You can follow me, go to dorieclark.com. You can sign up on my website, get a free self-assessment, and you'll be added to the email list and get reminders of things like this. We want to say hi to great friends tuning in from around the world who are joining us. Dominic's here from Lisbon. We have Cynthia in Los Angeles. We've got Azar from Oman, Lynn from South Carolina, Brenda from Canada, Sushma from India, Vanessa from Maine, Mercedes from Mexico, Kishore from India, and we have Tuya from Lynchburg, Virginia, and Celeste from South Africa, and Fatima from Iran. We love having you. And we have some great questions that have come in, Christian. One LinkedIn user is curious, how do you honor the legacy of the old guard while fostering innovation and diverse perspectives? I can imagine, this is an important question, right? If you're doing something as sacrosanct as strategy in a new and different way, it may well be threatening to the people who have kind of hoarded this power previously. How do you balance those needs?
And I remember when it's a small German consulting company, IMP. They were doing this stuff for a while, and they approached me with sort of, Christian, can you help us write the book about this? When I first heard about this, I thought, that's a bit wacky, isn't it? Strategy is sort of an elite topic. How can we kind of change that? I was intrigued enough to join some of the workshops that they were running, talk to some of the companies they have worked with in the past. And, the more and more I got into this topic, I noticed, hey, this is actually something that has real potential. Then, reached out to other organizations who had done that and found that, it's an option that is not necessarily threatening for the old guard. It gives them a new option of doing things. Their role, shifts a little bit. It's maybe less of this, I'm the smartest person in the room, and it's more about I'm the person who knows how to orchestrate, how to find the smartest people somewhere in my organization, which I think you can't really escape anyway in today's corporate world. If you still think you're the smartest person in the room and that's why you're the CEO, then, well, your time might have passed. I'm sorry.
Yes, I love that. That's great. We're here with Christian Stadler talking about open strategy and how to think about strategy in new and different ways in the future world of work. We want to say hi to Rama from Nepal, who's tuning in. We've got Jeff from Friday Harbor, Washington, Deepankar from India. We've got Christian's homie Simon from the UK. We've got Diana from Portugal, Bobby from South Dakota, Paulo from Brazil, Missouli from South Africa, Brianna from Knoxville, Jamie from Florida, and many more. We love having you type into the chat box. Let us know who you are, where you're dialing in from, and any questions you have about strategy for our friend Christian Stadler. And
when you earlier noticed some people on the list, I heard you say Mercedes. Yeah, a little fun fact here. Not sure if everyone knows, but Mercedes, the company, is named after the daughter of the founder. So, good name to have.
Absolutely. A blue chip name for sure. And a great question came in from Brianna, Christian, and she's wondering, is there a certain change management model that you found to be especially helpful for implementing new ideas in technology? We all know that change management is not the easiest thing in the world. A lot of initiatives fail. What have you seen out there that seems to be particularly successful?
So there's this one module that is called a Nightmare Competitor Contest, which I really love. We started talking earlier about this, the problem with disruption and how do you get people going. Now, imagine for a moment you are on a beach. It's a beautiful day. You're lying there, and somewhere in the distance, you hear some appealing music. Now, you might get up and check out the music, but it's also nice where you are, so maybe you don't move. Second scenario. It's dark, you're in the woods, and there's some kind of creepy noise coming very fast into your direction. I bet, you're going to stand up and you're going to run as fast as you can. My point here is, when there is fear involved, we start to move. And that Nightmare Competitor Contest is using this notion of fear in order to actually get things moving. The way these things are set up is, you have groups who develop business ideas, business models. They present them in a Dragon Den style for my British friends, in a Shark Tank style for my American friends. And as they, present these ideas, there's a round of voting. You reduce them to a smaller number of ideas which present nightmares for the organization you're trying to help out here. And you come to a final round of then nightmare competitors. They help you to move because they really present something that is particularly dangerous. And I think that's useful in a change management context where how do I motivate people to go? It's nice to think inspiration will do it. I'm not sure. I think the dark woods will move you faster than the nice beach.
I love it. I hereby suggest, Christian, that your next book could be called The Dark Woods and the Nice Beach. I think that would be a very evocative metaphor. It's my gift to you. It's my blue ocean strategy for you. So
Do you have any royalties to you for this title?
It's all you, man. I try to be generous. We want to say hi to Umar from Kashmir. Jenny's here from New York City. Jane is from Brazil. We have Ryan from Seattle. Maria Victoria from Miami. And we have Heraldo from Brazil. Marcos from Brazil. Brazil is representing today. And we have Karsten from Zurich. We're really glad to have all of you. Now, Christian, Hetty has a question. She wants to know why is it, if we're just, compare and contrast here, you are advocating obviously for open strategy. This is the name of your book. You are an unabashed advocate. Why will it work better than closed strategy? Give us your best pitch, man. Why is this important?
All right. Okay. Start with numbers. 1/3 of all initiatives have at least open to some extent, but these 1/3 of initiatives generate 50% of profits and revenues for organizations. So that's the number pitch. Yeah. Now let me get a little bit to the mechanisms. Why is it that it really works better? I think with closed strategy, you have two big problems. The first big problem is, where do fresh ideas come from? Yeah. If you're the same group of people sitting together again and again, you start to think alike. A few years back, Comcast and the other cable television providers were hit by new competition, the Netflix of this world. And people switched over to Netflix because it was cheaper, subscription fees were cheaper, and because you didn't have the advertisement breaks. Now, you might have guessed it, yeah, but in their closed way of thinking, they doubled down on the old strategy. In order to make up for the lost revenues, they increased the subscription fees and they increased the amount of advertising in the cable television companies. It seemed all sort of logical to them, but obviously, that's not fresh thinking, and it just accelerates the problem that people will leave you. So fresh ideas, in this closed setting, difficult. Second big problem is, how do I mobilize the troops? How do I get them on board in this old way of doing strategy? And once again, that's very hard if there's just an order from the top and everyone is supposed to run. I'll give you a nice example as well. Put yourselves, as we talked about Mercedes earlier, into the shoes of Mercedes in the 1980s. If in the 1980s you worked for Mercedes and you worked in Stuttgart, you had probably the best job in town. You would drive this big fat Mercedes, you park it in front of your house, neighbors come over, they want to find out how they can get a job as well with Mercedes. Life is good. New CEO comes in, Edzard Reuter. And Edzard Reuter has this idea that with new competition in high-end cars, Lexus, BMW getting stronger, they need to become an integrated technology conglomerate. And that involves various acquisitions, some of them in the defense industry. Now, defense industry in the mid-1980s, with the sort of, closeness still to the Second World War, is highly controversial in Germany. Sure enough, newspapers are full with stories how Daimler is doing all these awful things now. They're producing weapons. Children across the world are being killed. Your job working for Mercedes is not so cool anymore. You wait until it's dark. You don't want to meet your neighbors. You park the car behind the house. You sneak in because you don't want any form of confrontation. Your enthusiasm the next day in the office to actually work with those folks who are in the defense business is going to be rather limited. But the entire idea here is that, you create great new things in Mercedes because people work together across all those departments. What sounded fantastic from the boardroom, and I don't mention the name, but one of the big consulting company was championing this particular idea. Didn't sound so great for those working on the front end of the business. And these two problems that I mentioned, the fresh idea problem and the implementation problem, you can overcome that with open strategy. By involving people, you get fresh ideas and people become champions. And again, I have some numbers here for you as well, because we asked executives whether opening up their strategy brought them fresh ideas, which 69% said it did. And we asked them whether it helps them to increase the commitment to new ideas and strategies, and 70% said it did. So, I hope I made a good pitch, maybe not 1 second long, but had to put it out there.
I love it. You can type it into the chat box. Let us know. Was Christian's pitch sufficient? Are you sold on open strategy? Inquiring minds want to know.
And if you're
Let
not,
us know.
I'll find you and we'll talk again.
That's right. He's like a pit bull. He's not going to let go. So I love it. We want to say hi to David, who's tuning in from North Carolina. Alicia is here from Oakland. We've got Dinesh from India. We have a LinkedIn friend from Hong Kong. Manuel is here from the Philippines. We have Jelson from Lubango. We have Margaret from Hunter, New York. Ellie from London. We have Rita Marie from Ireland, and many more. We have Susie from Tunis. And I love this question that we have here, Christian. We have Masuli, who wants to know, hey, wait a minute. So this is good for regular viewers of Better. You know that our very recent guest, I think it might even have been not last week, the week before, was Roger Martin, the esteemed former dean of the University of Toronto Rotman School of Business. Masuli is still, I think, trying to be convinced here, Christian. He says, okay, this open strategy thing, well, what does Roger Martin think about it? What does Henry Mintzberg think about it, who's also a famous scholar? So what do we think? Is this controversial, or are people starting to embrace it? How is everything being received, Christian?
So first of all, you notice it's gone a bit dark here. Joining from Nairobi, we're just having a power outage here. I prepared myself. I'm hot desking into this. Let me see if I can put some more light here.
That's amazing. We were hoping you could also tell us some strategy ghost stories. Are you open to that?
Yeah, I put this for a fact that everyone gets scared here. But let me go back. Are people convinced about this? I'm going to go one better. Consulting companies might be really threatened by this thing. Where's their job if this is no longer their thing? And I've had conversations with, let me again not name names, but two of the three big strategy firms. And both of them, they see it as a complementary tool. Yeah, so they don't think that this is necessarily taking away some of the analytical work. It's not going to take away the role of the executives altogether, but it's a really nice thing that you can use to stress test your strategy. It's something that you can use in specific situations, and that's I think an important point. Yeah, I don't advocate that everything needs to be opened. There's situations. Sometimes even legally, you cannot open up your strategy if you're in an M&A type situation. But there's others where you can. So think about the kind of projects where maybe there's some sort of disruption coming, where you can maybe also test a little bit in a non-core business, so you wouldn't threat your most important business to start with. And as you see, this is going to work, you can expand it further. Reception really, has been universal like this. People don't see it as something that kills everything that has been there before. It's a new approach that for some circumstances improves the situation.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Christian Stadler. We are here. I'm Dorie Clark. We're here with our weekly Newsweek interview show, Better. And Christian is very bravely coming into us from Nairobi in the middle of a power outage. So we appreciate that commitment. Props to you, Christian Stadler. And I'm looking through the comments here. You have indeed convinced a lot of people with the benefit of open strategy. So well done for that. And a question came in from our friend Alicia in Oakland. She wants to know, we obviously need to do some skill building for the future, if we're talking about the collective workforce. But also, we don't know how things are going to shake out. The future is extremely uncertain. I mean, it's never been certain, but now it seems like all kinds of crazy things can happen. So she's wondering, how do you recommend skill building so that we can actually build up the tolerance for ambiguity we need in order to navigate this future change? How do you approach that, Christian?
Wow, that's a really tough one there. My gut feeling is that as we have more and more of this, we get more and more used to it. I'm at the moment in Kenya, as you know, and here there have been uncertainty for much longer than in many other places, and for many people, and they adjust to this. You do things like you run several businesses. I've done actually some work where I looked at the question: why are entrepreneurs over here in Kenya not doing just one business, but there are multiple businesses? From the Western, hey, we got light again, power is back. So, from the Western perspective, we will concentrate our forces on one activity. But over here, people say, I never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So let me run 3 different startups. And not just because I think only one of them will succeed, but it might be even that my most successful one gets the attention of somebody who has a lot of influence, and they somehow, manage to push me out of this activity, and then I have something else available. So I think, by getting used to get used to ambiguity as well, doing it really. Big fan of experience.
That's great. It looks like your camera may have frozen, Christian, although we can still see you, which is fantastic. And I will just say, yeah, hi. There we go. Now we gotcha. So anyway, I am with you on
back, by the way. I'm not sure. For a second I couldn't hear you, but
yes, I think we're good now. Yes, I am totally down with the Kenyan entrepreneurs and hedging their bets. And in fact, my book, not my most recent one, but the one before that, Entrepreneurial You, the subtitle is "Monetize Your Expertise, Create Multiple Income Streams, and Thrive." Because I am all about risk mitigation, and also, as it happens, if you mitigate risk, you can also maximize your potential for opportunity. So I think that is great. We're here with Christian Stadler. He's the author of the book Open Strategy. If you've been enjoying this conversation, hit the like button and hit the share button so that your friends on social media can benefit from the conversation as well. And Christian, a great question came in from Hetty. She is curious. This is her follow-up. She wants to know, if we do open strategy, does that necessitate a different approach to actually implementing that strategy? Or does it look kind of the same as more traditional closed strategy? How do you think about that?
So, one thing that happens when you open up your strategy is that probably the whole development and design takes longer than it usually. Naturally, more people involved, coordination, more voices to be heard. So that takes longer. And it already creates some sort of, execution aspect in the creation part of your strategy. That's sort of, different. And I would say, they flow into each other, where this clear separation you tend to have. Top management creates strategy, and then afterwards we tell everyone. That's no longer there when people are involved from the beginning. But if you go only, open up for the execution side, then maybe it's not that different from how typically execution implementation is done, with the one exception that during the implementation execution activities, you might find new ideas and kind of bring them back in. Steelcase, big furniture producer, office furniture producer from the United States, they used an open approach, a bit similar to what I described for Barclays earlier, but they did so only in the implementation phase. The leadership team thought, we know our top headlines, so kind of let's use an approach like this that people have an opportunity to discuss and learn, etc. But what happened then is that a new idea came out of the implementation phase, really around involving some of their key account customers in the design of new furniture. Less so because the furniture is better, and more so because key account managers on the customer side liked the idea of having this involvement. And because that seemed such a great idea, it entered the mainstream. Not intended like this, but implementation became design.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think your picture is a little bit frozen, but we can hear you perfectly. And we are giving you double snaps, Christian Stadler, for operating through some technical difficulties coming from Nairobi. We are so happy to have you. Christian is the author of the book Open Strategy. And if you want to learn more about him and his work, you can just go to christianstadler.org and learn all about it. We've been talking about how to innovate in business today and how to approach strategy in new and different ways. I'm Dorie Clark. This is our weekly Newsweek interview show, Better. Christian Stadler, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a great pleasure. On the power outage, one last one. I've taught the class from Zanzibar about a year and a half ago. I just showed them the view from my beach house, and then the power went off. They were not excited, I tell you.
Yes, these trade-offs, man. It is very challenging, but we appreciate you soldiering through with us. And thank you to everyone for tuning in here. Join us next week. Again, same bat time, same bat channel, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, 6 p.m. Central European. We will see you then. Christian Stadler and everyone, take care and thank you.
Thank you.